There's a reason that people know these paintings 400, 500 years later. I think it's important to recognize what they're doing just on a fundamental level. Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Nate Caywood, and I'm a Los Angeles-based cinematographer, and I created this YouTube channel with the intention of looking at the work of the best cinematographers on the planet in hopes of reverse engineering it so that I can learn what they do, steal their tricks, and hopefully you guys can learn something along the way. But today we're doing something completely different. We're looking at the 17th century Dutch painter Vermeer's work and seeing how that translates into cinema. Okay, so first things first, I know that the title is a little bit clickbaity, and I apologize for that. I'm not suggesting that we don't continue to study Roger Deakins' work. I mean, he is the GOAT, am I right? I'm just saying maybe it is time for us to start looking at other media and other mediums besides just film. So let's start looking at some painters' work, and I'm starting with Vermeer. Okay, so Vermeer actually was not a very prolific painter. If I remember correctly, I read his Wikipedia not that long ago. If I remember correctly, he has 36 credited paintings to him across his entire life, which is not very many. He existed around the same time in the sort of Dutch school as Rembrandt, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know in the comments below if I totally got that wrong. I don't think I did. My mother was an art history teacher, so if I did fail, she's going to be very angry. Okay, so first things I want to point out, here's why I love Vermeer's paintings and why I want to start talking about them as a filmic representation of the way that we could be capturing images as contemporary cinematographers. Okay, so these paintings were all painted in the mid 1600s, just to give you 1660, 1670, that sort of vibe. The first painting that we are looking at is called Officer and the Laughing Girl. What do we love about this? So the thing that we'll notice is we're looking at more and more Vermeer paintings. I've only chosen like 6 of them to look at, but the majority of them are painted from this exact setup. Like literally, he's positioned himself in the room, looking at the same thing, looking towards this window, and all of the paintings are done that way. But there's different energy, there's different light, there's different color contrast, there's a lot of different stuff that's happening. Obviously, okay, so let's start drawing on this. It's like, obviously, the sunlight is coming in from this way and keying our character right here, okay? So why is this valuable? I think we can sometimes get used to the fact that the piece of technology, the camera, is doing the exposure for us. It's like automatically kind of doing the acquisition. And I think that something that's interesting to look at when you are looking at paintings is that every single brushstroke, every single millimeter of this painting is designed with intention to bring us to what the painter wants us to look at. And I think that that's a really, really important thing for us to remember. And so here's what I would say I look at. I look at her face when I first look at this painting, and I look at his shape. So I think that's really interesting. This painting in particular I wanted to choose because it reminds me having your subjects be lit in a different way is okay, right? Like really great cinematographers, look, Deakins does this all the time. Everybody does this. This is just about me reminding myself about how to be better. And so I don't know if there's another like white building, a Dutch style white building right outside of this frame over here or something like that. Dutch building, and it's reflecting white light back into the space, but that's kind of what it seems like, because this does not seem like, this is not hard direct light. So the sun is clearly up here pointing this way. She's got a little shadow here. You can see the shadow on this side of her head as far as her like scarf or head thing is concerned. I like the level of light on this wall compared to her, right? So it's obviously diffused light that's spreading all through this room, but not, and just sort of edging this guy. But I still look at her. So that's like really interesting to me. She's got like a white headscarf. She's got like a white blouse. She's against a flat white wall, but still I'm able to I immediately go to her when my eyes look at this image. And I think that's because of the ratios of the fall off here versus what's happening on her head. Anyway, okay, let's keep moving here. I do want to point out that the dark areas of all of these paintings, and this is one of the things that I really, really, really want to talk about in this video today, is these dark areas, quote unquote black areas that are exposed dark in paintings are not black. They are not black. You have to make these paints, and black had to be made from something, right? And so this is like navy blue. I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the YouTube compression, but in the JPEGs that I pulled from Wikipedia, which were like relatively high resolution 4K images, this is like a dark navy. And this is like is like as close as you can get to black while still having like blue and brown in it. Here's what I learned from this image. I like the fall off to the window here, and I like how she's exposed, and I like that he's sort of silhouetted and just edged. It creates two, like the depth and the texture of the image is really interesting to me. So silhouetted. So this, what I'm learning from this image is you don't have to expose both of your characters at the same level. Okay, great. Something that we probably already knew, but like something important to revisit. Same room, same angle, same quality-ish of light. Looks like the sun might be in a little bit of a different position. This painting is called The Geographer. Okay, so again, everything's window light. It's all natural window light. So like, it's just such a powerful tool. And our job is to be able to recreate it as cinematographers. So this painting is pretty straightforward as well, again. And I just want to talk about, like, I just like the quality of the light, the wraparound. Like there's like a bounce here that's kind of bringing that light level back up in this painting. Again, all the dark areas, not actually black. None of this is actually black. This is all colored, textured painting. So I think that's something that's really interesting to remember when we get into color grades, when we're talking about what our black levels are, when we're exposing things for how dark we want them. I think it's just important to recognize that you have to blend these paints together to create black. So there's inherently going to be like a little bit more blue or a little bit more brown in there, and then that will create a color cast within the black. And it's in concert with the tonality of the rest of this painting, which is blues, grays, and browns. It's interesting. Look, very light color contrast here. Blue curtain, blue accents, and all of this sort of stuff. Actually, let me do that here, right? Let's switch the colors. So it's like blue curtain, blue wardrobe, accents of blue in the texture of this, little blue accents over here, right? Blue color cast in the shadows. But then notice what we do. We have warm pieces that are warm skin tones, warm. So look, Vermeer's using color contrast, the orange and teal color contrast 500 years ago. So there we go. Look, we can learn stuff from paintings, guys. We're doing it. Great. The reason I wanted to bring this up is this is clearly the same model, right? This is called The Astronomer. This painting is clear. Like, to me, it seems like these are the same guys, or pretty darn close. These are the same guys, right? These are the same guys. Okay. There's a green color cast to this painting. Now, I don't actually know if that, let me know if you're like an art historian or you understand how restoration works. Is this just a contemporary scan of the painting and 500 years of dirt is on it? And if you took that dirt off, it would feel more representative of the geographer? Who knows? But if this is the intention of this piece, I would be like, look, we're in a David Fincher movie. It's like got a green cast on everything, which is interesting. But look, I want to just talk about the quality of light on his face, the shape that the window creates on all of this, the texture of these fabrics. I just think it's really interesting, like understanding how light is playing with our characters, and this is such a simple setup. Like, look, documentary filmmakers use this setup all the time. Just put somebody near a window and it will be beautiful. And it's like, look, this is like, there's a history of that. I thought this one was interesting. Again, there's brown in these shadows. Like, this is dark and green and brown, and there is blue in all of these shadows. You know, again, color contrast. While you're still talking about shades of contrast, there's color difference in the shades of contrast. Like, as I look at this image, the thing that pops out to me is this is a shape of blue right here, and this is a shape of yellowy greenness, right? So color blocking in a 500-year-old painting. Just interesting. Just see, like, we can just see similarities about how things look. Okay, great. So one thing that's brought up in cinematography a lot that I think is really interesting and that we talk about as cinematographers about how to create the illusion of depth is when you like checkerboard a frame, right? And what that means is that a portion of your frame has highlights and a portion of your frame is like sort of has a contrastier places in the image. Like, so for instance, I'm going to do, we'll do it like, so this is darker right here, right? And then her face is lighter right here, right? And then the side of her head is darker, right? But then the wall is brighter, right? And then argumentatively, you would say this color contrast creates this to feel like a darker space, and also it's darker. Now, if you wanted to be a real nerd about it, I think you might be this is a little bit lighter right here, her reflection in the window, than the rest of the window. So, and then, oh, if that is dark, then look at this, the light of this frame. So look, we're getting this checkerboarding or ups and downs in exposure, and therefore like moments of contrast that are happening across the frame. That is a technique that is frequently used in black and white photography, black and white cinematography. I mean, you know, it's used very well in this painting as well. One thing that I'll note that I just want to point out, or that I'm learning from this, is it feels like this image up here has less color saturation than what's going on right here. And I would also venture to guess, I feel like this has much less color saturation as well. So look, it looks like Vermeer is bringing our eye very specifically to what he wants to look at in many different ways, by using different levels of saturation, by using contrast checkerboarding to create interest in depth. Look, he's got a foreground element playing right here, a foreground element playing right here, something in the background there, like texture and depth, to create the illusion of depth in a 2D image, which is like, by all accounts, how deep do you think this is from his quote-unquote camera lens? I don't know. 10, 12 feet of space against a flat wall, but she's still popping out to us. This is an image that breaks his motif, that breaks the way that he had been framing everything before. And this is one of my favorite images of paintings that he has. Again, we could just talk about this sort of saturation and contrast as far as like the fall off here is like, so this is darker than what we're looking at, which feels like it's brighter here. This is the brightest part of all of this is the brightest part of the frame, right? So we immediately look right here. Well, first of all, she's front lit and like flat lit, and you can see the shadow under her chin, but the depth of the frame still creates the illusion of depth, right? Like this frame within a frame, and all this stuff back here, it creates depth in space. Like, it's quite interesting because this is reflective light coming flat from behind us as a viewer to flat light everything in the front. But there's also this hard edge on the door frame right there. So that means that there must be sunlight coming in from that direction somehow, even if it's just ambient or reflective light. But it's creating a hard edge on that door frame, which is a really great trick. Like, me looking at this painting makes me realize, like, oh, that's a really great trick, which is like, so you want some sort of soft level to ambient, to raise the ambient level in that back room so that we can see the depth of it, right? So what is this? Some sort of soft light? Great. But this is going to need some sort of more special level, right? Do you have like a Dido light or like a Source 4 Lico or something like that, and you just splash a little light right there to create that texture? Really interesting choice. Again, I'm just so drawn by this is the window frame. Like, it's just kind of soft hob, the reverse soft hob method, right? Which it's soft on here. It's not hard, but it's darker. It's so that kind of brings our eyes to her as a character. Again, all the dark places, there is color cast in them. That is not pure dark, or that is not pure black. That has, like, this has blue tones to it. This has brown tones to it, brown tones. This is Vermeer's most famous painting, everyone. This is Vermeer's most famous painting. Do we feel like there are any contemporary images that may look and feel like this? This is a very formal portrait, which is very different from his other images that felt more observational. They're still clearly staged, which is part of what we're doing as a trick. It's our job to create the illusion of reality, which is also what Vermeer is doing in his paintings. Like, when he's sitting in the corner and painting these people, it's the appearance that reality is taking place, but it would take hours and hours and hours to do this painting, you know? Okay, first thing that I noticed and that I learned from Girl with the Pearl Earring, his most famous image, is none of the background is black. It is all brown and grays and hues of blue, and that's great. Obviously, this is a more considered frame. She's very, very, like, the level of light on her is very hot there, and there's like very, very soft fall off here, and same here. She's sort of as if the window is right here, right? Casting light this way. So maybe he put some sort of dark fabric behind her and put her really close to the window. That's what I would guess that he did. Not too dissimilar from what we do now in running gun situations for documentary and all that sort of stuff. But like, look, you can see the highlight of the window in her earring. You can see it in her eye. Look, she's got an eye catch. How beautiful. I think this is, I mean, I just think this is a really lovely frame. If you imagine this could be, if she was looking this direction as opposed to right at us as viewers, like this is a frame that you could find in a movie today. I mean, you can still find this in a movie today without it even feeling like it needs to be Portrait of a Lady on Fire or the film version of Girl with a Pearl Earring. Like without it even being period pieces. So it's interesting. I went through Shot Deck and I pulled a couple images and I want to talk about them really quickly about how I think paintings like this, painters like Vermeer, painters like Rembrandt, painters like Caravaggio, those people were working with and elevating light and portraiture in a way that has stood the test of time. There's a reason that people know these paintings 400, 500 years later, right? So I think it's important to recognize what they're doing just on a fundamental level. And I think this image is a really beautiful image, and I would be really proud if I were able to capture something that looked like this, that with a single light source that created this depth and texture. And I think the thing that I'm seeing when I look at Vermeer paintings is I personally I feel a certain way. I have a feeling when I look at a Vermeer painting. Let's start from the beginning again so we can see it. Feel like it's live, like it's reality, like we're living in a truth that is taking place. And I am an observer, having the privilege of seeing this person interacting with the world. And to me, that's what our camera lens does. Like that, our job as a cinematographer is to create images that make audiences feel that way. Okay, so really quickly, I want to see if you guys agree or disagree. Let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with this premise, that filmmakers either overtly or just inherently have embodied this style of lighting, this framing, this sort of like ethos of how we feel as an observer in a room with a subject, and let me know what you think. I think that it plays in images like this, an image from a commercial. I think Vermeer is in this image to me. I think that this image, right? I think that this framing is not that dissimilar from Girl with a Pearl Earring. Obviously, the levels of contrast in the back are very different, but framing and quality of light on her eyes, not that different. Quality of light on her face, not that different. Her position. I could see this as being a Vermeer painting. The quality of softness, this ambient soft level that softly wraps around your character's face. I see it in some of the best cinematographers in the world, right? I see it in Chivo Lubetsky's work. I see it in Hoyte van Hoytema's work, in Hoyte van Hoytema's work, in Hoyte van Hoytema's work. I see it in Bradford Young, in Bradford Young's work. I see it in Roger Deakins' work. I see it in Roger Deakins' work. I see it in Roger Deakins' work. Tell me that image just is sort of like framing qualitatively how the light works, and tell me that doesn't feel a little bit like this. I mean, look, you might call BS on me and be like, wow, you're really making a stretch here, but I feel like 500 years apart, these images don't feel like they're in too different of a world. So that's what I got for you today. Look, Roger Deakins is a goat. Hoyte van Hoytema is a goat. Bradford Young is a goat. Every cinematographer does this. Our job is to figure out how to craft and create light quality that looks like that, and how it plays and feels like natural sunlight coming through a window. And you create that by working with your key grip and your gaffer. I just wanted to point out that sometimes there might be a merit to looking at other mediums besides just film to see how they have lit their images and to see how they hold up against the test of time and with the tools that they were working with. And I think, to me, the thing that's most interesting about Vermeer's painting is contrast, is color contrast and color blocking, is how he's able to use this sort of like checkerboard approach to light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, and the quality of light The quality of bounced ambient sunlight is the thing that I'm really trying to take away. And that also your subjects don't have to be lit the same way. That's kind of like a reminder for me, right? Because that's truth, that's reality, and a lot of times we're fabricating reality in film. So I have to remind myself of that. Okay, guys, thanks so much for sticking around. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Is a Vermeer painting pertinent to you as a cinematographer or not? Is it better to just stick to analyzing cinematography from films, or is it better to look at mediums outside of filmmaking? Let me know. I really enjoyed this. I love Vermeer. I'd love to do one about Caravaggio. I'd love to do one about Rembrandt as well. Let me know what you guys think. See if we can start to see trends in how cinematographers align with painters from history past. Okay, that's all the time that we have. Please please subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Leave me a comment below if you think there are other painters that I should analyze. And don't forget, there is a membership group if you're looking for more insight in more technological aspects versus just lighting breakdowns. Okay, thank you much, guys. Appreciate it. We'll speak soon. Cheers.